physical disability from spina bifida left her without much movement or feeling in her legs, but she was an accomplished wheelchair user who was competitive in national wheelchair sports. She went to a mainstream school. She had a learning assistant to help her with things in school she simply could not do herself, but she would not allow people so much as to push her wheelchair or open a door for her. Everything she could do for herself, she did. But she died just after her 16th birthday. You, Sarah Lloyd-Jones, her mother, and you, Alan Titford, her father, caused her death by shocking and prolonged neglect over lockdown, which you, by your guilty plea, Sarah Lloyd-Jones, and a jury by a unanimous verdict, Alan Titford, have proved to be gross negligence manslaughter on your part. For those crimes, I now pass sentence. I will briefly summarise the facts of the case, particularly relevant to sentence. My summing up to the jury in the case of Alan Titford set out the evidence more fully, much of it applicable to both of you, and the Crown has opened the case. Kaylee Titford was born with hydrocephalus and spina bifida in 2004. She was born with normal weight, but by the time she was 3, her weight had risen to the heaviest 99.6th centile of relevant weight on a scale of 1 to 100. At 4 years old, she started mainstream primary school, and at 6, she was already good at physical activities and games in her wheelchair. At 11 or so, she went on to mainstream secondary school. Concerns about her weight led to a concerted effort by professionals to work with the family to improve her diet and stabilise her weight. Sarah Lloyd-Jones did not attend these appointments after the first one, but Alan Titford attended instead. For 2 years, from 2011, there was success for which the family was given credit. But in 2013, when she was 9 or 10, a number of years before Kaylee's death, the stabilisation of her weight came to an end, and weight gain was an issue until she died. There was a history of missed appointments. Some of these ended the provision of relevant services because professionals took the view that there was no point in scheduling appointments which were not being attended. Both defendants were aware that help was available from a variety of agencies, but they did not make full use of that help as time went on. By the end, they were not accessing or accepting any significant help at all for Kaylee. The whole burden of looking after her therefore fell on them, but this was not for reasons beyond their control. It was part of their gross negligence towards the well-being of their daughter. I do not accept that Alan Titford thought that Sarah Lloyd-Jones was looking after Kaylee well enough on her own. It was obvious that she was failing. He did not need to look at her legs to see that. He would go into Kaylee's room from time to time, as he did on her birthday, and when he got back from work on other days. But he ignored the smell and the dirt and the flies and the chaos and the evidence of his own eyes and nose that she was not getting the care she needed. There are texts in which Sarah Lloyd-Jones begged for his help. He didn't give any help. His long hours at work are not an excuse. He liked working. He did not like helping. He was, as he freely accepted, too lazy to help. He expressed some scruples about getting involved in the personal care of a daughter who had reached puberty, But his neglect was total, and he could and should have done more to help and ask others for help. Instead, when he was not at work, he sat in his bedroom upstairs watching television. Equally, I do not accept that Sarah Lloyd-Jones can throw the blame onto her husband. It was too much for her to do on her own. That I do accept. But it was her duty to ask for help and to accept it from the agencies which over the years she sometimes ignored or turned away. When she had a telephone appointment with Birmingham Children's Hospital in May 2020, she did not say that help was needed for Kayleigh. She was positively offered help in August 2020 by contact from a young person's lymphedema specialist, and later contact from a young people's specialist, and later contact from the Youth Intervention Service. She did not take up any of these offers. When Kayleigh's non-attendance at school was queried after schools reopened in September 2020, she made various excuses for not sending Kayleigh back without disclosing what was really happening. I find it impossible to say that one parent was more to blame than the other. They were both equally responsible, and they were both equally culpable. Kayleigh was found dead in bed on the morning of the 10th of October 2020. However, Sarah Lloyd-Jones' basis of plea and the facts proved to the criminal standard at Alan Titford's trial show that their failure to take reasonable care for Kayleigh's health and welfare needs took place over a period between the start of lockdown on the 23rd of March 2020, when Kayleigh stopped going to school, and her death, a period of over 6 months. This was not a lapse on the part of the defendants. It was a long and sustained period of criminal negligence. I say that having taken full account of the better care given to Kayleigh before lockdown. The particulars of criminal negligence, again accepted in the basis of plea and proven at trial, included the increase in Kayleigh's weight, which rose from 16 stone 12 pounds, 107 kilograms, when she was last weighed alive in March 2018 at the age of 13, to her post-mortem weight of 22 stone 13 pounds, 146 kilograms on the 11th of October 2020, which was shortly after her 16th birthday on the 27th of September. Her body mass index was 70. There was no attempt to control her diet. She could only eat what she was given, which by the end was the same fattening takeaways that everyone else was eating. It was perfectly obvious from her physical appearance, and would have been to both defendants, that Kayleigh was morbidly and dangerously obese. Not only did her parents not watch her diet as they had been taught to do, they failed to get her a wheelchair to replace the one she had grown out of. This left her completely bedridden, and her lack of ability to move herself caused still greater increase in weight. Her immobility also removed her ability to extricate herself from the general squalor into which the defendants sank her. She was in a specially adapted room, in a specially adapted house, with her own disabled toilet, but she had long since been unable to toilet herself. By the time of her death, she was lying in her own filth, surrounded by flies which bothered her and maggots which fed on her. Her flesh was disfigured by ulcers which left her skin open